The sound you hear is what some experts claim to be a Bigfoot scream. Recorded in the state of Washington by a group of campers in 1971, it is regarded as the highest quality audio of the creature ever captured.
Hello, welcome to Bigfoot Real Encounters. We're glad to have you stop by. We'd also like to take this time to invite you to share your encounter. You can send your stories to the email bfrealencounters@mail.com, where we will feature your story with all of the respect that it deserves. So send your stories in, bfrealencounters@mail.com. We look forward to hearing from you and your great stories soon. Hello everybody, welcome to Bigfoot Real Encounters. I'm glad you clicked on this video. Welcome to all of our new viewers and returning viewers alike. I'm glad you stopped by. I want to thank all of my viewers. I appreciate you all. I've been receiving some good comments and kind of put me to shame for, I guess, whining a little bit about some of the bad comments when most comments overall are overwhelmingly great, supportive, and kind to me. I really appreciate it. So I won't be doing any more of that. I'm taping this now in second day of August 2021. And I'm just wondering, we've had spring and half a summer now in 2021. Somebody has bound to have run into a Bigfoot somewhere. And if you have, hey, let us know. Share your encounters. bfrealencounters@mail.com. All right? We'd love to hear from you. So today I think we're going to go to the state of Alabama. We are going state by state, and let's get to the stories quicker this time, okay? Great. So we're back in the summer of 2015 in July in Clark County, Alabama. This one reads, it was July 5, 2015. It was late. About 3:30 a.m. I had fallen asleep on my cousin's sofa about 10 p.m. after a long day at our family reunion. All of a sudden, the dogs started going crazy. It woke me up, so I kind of laid there thinking to myself, I wish they would shut up. Then all of a sudden, I heard one of the dogs yell out like it was hurt. Then I heard the sound of something coming up on the front porch, so I sat up to look out the front window. It just so happens that we left the porch light on, and what I saw was unforgettable and unbelievable. It was squatting down right in front of me. I guess it was too big to stand up on the porch. I don't know why it was there, but we had left the empty beer and soda cans and leftover food scraps in a couple of trash bags to be thrown out the next day. But to make a long story short, I was no more than 8 to 10 feet away from it. I looked at it for what seemed like an hour, but I never saw its face because its back was to me the whole time. And I never leave my .45 caliber, but for some reason I did not have it with me. You would have had a corpse to show to the world. But this thing has become aggressive in this area of Alabama where my family lives. July 8th, it kills my cousin's bulldog. In May, it chases another family member. June, it looks into a family member's window in broad open daytime. So I'm trying to get some of the guys together and try and kill it because no one will do anything to research and capture this thing. We know where it lives and how it travels. All we want is for someone to capture and remove it. I live in Texas, but my family lives in Alabama, and they're living in fear of this thing, so it has to go, one way or another. Wow, what an encounter, and this guy means business, that's for sure. I don't know that a .45 caliber would have much effect on a creature, unless you're point blank and you get a vital soft spot. Folks have hit the things with larger calibers and they've got up and walked away. So if this is your story that I'm reading off of the BFRO website and you're hearing this, I would like to hear from you. I'd like to find out what happened subsequently after this. Did you get any type of resolution to the problem? There are other ways to deal with them. And that's the one thing that we need to get out to people, and the purpose for this channel is to get information around, so when the troublesome creatures come up and they do present a problem, we have some type of information in order to handle it and to deal with them. Now, Scott Carpenter has dealt with these creatures successfully at times. And there's another group out of Kentucky, Kentucky X-Files. They have helped people deal with some aggressive, troublesome Sasquatch beings from time to time as well. They'll use ultraviolet lights. That seems to keep them away. But the problem with that is the Sasquatch bust the lights, throw rocks at them, take them out. They don't like it keeps them away, but they're able to destroy them at times. Keeping cameras on, lighting, and the type of lights that come on with motion sensors. And some folks have even gone out to the edge of the property and spoke into the woods saying, hey, look, we both got to live here. Let's knock this off, all right? And come up with some type of a trade-off, type of thing. So there's other ways. I think if you start shooting, there's going to be trouble, and you're not going to have a good outcome of that. You're at least going to have a 50 caliber, and it's going to have to be something very large. You're going to have a lot of bullets. And the other thing is, these things are usually never alone. You take a shot at one, and there's going to be one come from the side or behind you or any other direction to take you out. So we do need to be careful, and we do need to get some information out so that people can intelligently deal with troublesome beings. Okay? All right, and I do want to also encourage you to like, share, subscribe. Check out the links in the description below. And if you've had some encounters, don't be shy, send them in. bfrealencounters@mail.com. Now's the time to share them. Let's get them shared to the world. Also, do remember there is a brand new Facebook page. It's a private group, Bigfoot Anonymous. I set it up specifically for people who've had encounters to talk amongst each other. Most of the time the encounters are not good. People are troubled by them. And if you can talk to other people who've had encounters, it seems to help. So you can share stories, maybe even come up with some solutions back and forth amongst each other to deal with some issues. There's some rooms in there, chat rooms, video chats. Take advantage of it, talk to each other. Just go to the Facebook search, which is that magnifying glass icon, upper left-hand corner, and type in Bigfoot Anonymous, and that page should show up for you there. You have to join, And there's, I think, 3 questions that you have to answer on there, and we'll get you joined in there. And once again, I don't pull stories out of there. What is said and spoken about on Bigfoot Anonymous stays there. Okay? So check that out, and let's see about some other stories here. Alright, here's one from 1978 in Limestone County, Alabama. And this one reads, "The main sighting, as I wish to refer it to here, took place in Limestone County along Elk Creek. It occurred in the spring of 1978 or 79. I cannot seem to recall exactly, since it has been many years ago. I'm in my early 30s now, but at the time of the sighting I was 13 or 14. I was on an annual family visit to my grandparents' place in Athens. We had gone out to the river for a few days. I can't recall what day it was, but I do remember that it was in the early afternoon. I was a typical kid then, so naturally I was doing kid stuff. I had a frog gig, and I was down at the boathouse pier throwing it into the shallow water, trying to randomly hit something in the water. I did nail a crappie, but I did not hurt it bad, so I let it go. At the end of the slough was a swampy area. This area started approximately 175 to 250 yards from my grandparents' cabin. It was shallow water, and several hardwood trees such as oak or dogwood, for example, growing within the swamp. The swamp went back perhaps a few miles. No one in my family, nor myself, except maybe my grandfather, had ventured too far into that swamp. Along the sloping bank from the cabin to the swamp were 3 other cabins and piers. Across from the cabins is a gentle sloping pasture. Next to it are a couple of cabins and boathouses. It seems that every time I was at the boathouse and I looked across the water, there were always cows in the pasture. However, that day I just let the crappie go, and I happened to look out toward the swamp. As I did, I noticed something emerge from the swamp next to and below the pasture fence about 50 feet and wade into the water of the slough. It was dark in color, black I think. I know this because it was a sunny day. It stood upright. It had waded into the water knee-deep. I did not really pay attention at first, thinking it was a bear. However, I looked again a few seconds later and soon realized it was not a bear. It was tall, approximately 8 or 9 feet, well built, and very hairy. I could not make out any facial features due to the distance. I did not notice a neck, and the head was round-shaped. It proceeded to look both ways. It then bent over at the waist and took its left arm and swung it into the water. I noticed the splash. It did this twice. Then it stood up and looked straight in my direction. It stood there a few seconds, then turned around and walked back into the swamp just like a person would. I stood there and just shrugged my shoulders and went back to messing around. About 3 or 4 minutes later, I looked back toward the swamp again, and the creature came back out from the same spot that it had before. It waded knee-deep into the water once again and did the exact same thing over that it had done before, including looking my direction once again. It then turned around and wandered back into the swamp in the same area that it came out of. It did not come back again, for I stayed at the pier for about another hour, and I kept looking that way several times. To this day, I'm convinced that it was trying to catch fish. I never felt I was in any danger, even though it was an odd experience. However, Being at that age, I did not want to go outside alone after dark for any reason, including to use the bathroom. The cabin bathroom was in the basement, and one had to get to it by going outside. It took me a few years to be comfortable there at night. In regards to that sighting, there was something I noticed. There were no cattle to be seen in the pasture at the time of the sighting. The funny side to all this is that I had carried a pair of binoculars down to the pier with me and left them sitting next to me on the upper rail. Not once did it occur to me to pick them up and use them. A side note, 2 weeks earlier, 2 boys had found large human-like footprints in that region somewhere, as reported in a local newspaper. About 10 years ago, my grandmother sold the place. However, I was in Athens a couple of years ago, so I drove out to the river to see the old place. No one was there, so I took the liberty of walking down to the pier and the boathouse. Except for a new paint job on the cabin and a refurbished boathouse, nothing had changed over the years. The slough and swamp were still the same. I remained for an hour picking up fossils since the water was down, it being late summer. During that brief time, I looked toward the swamp periodically, remembering, wondering, and, well, kind of hoping. Very well written. And now, once again, we have some more quite odd behavior for a Bigfoot type creature to be doing. Going in and out of the water, taking his hand and swiping down. Maybe he was trying to catch fish. You never know. Could have actually been catching frogs and then going out and eating them or something. You never know. But he never thought to pick up his binoculars to look in and see it. That happens a lot with encounters. People will have a camera, or in this case the binoculars, or weapons, and they don't even think to use whatever is in their hands. They are all caught up in the sighting itself. It's just one of those things. And maybe if we get enough of these stories out, that folks will make it a point to remind themselves and to remember, if they're in the situation, hey, I have something in my hand. Let me take that picture, or let me look at the binoculars. I don't think raising a gun would go well for you. They may decide to protect themselves and intercept, you know what I mean? Like that famous scene in the Jurassic Park movie where the big game hunter has the one velociraptor in his sights, but another one comes over and flanks him from the side. One can't help but think that maybe the Sasquatch might do the same thing to you. So we might want to think twice before trying to pull a gun on them, unless it becomes necessary. You know, if it does, well, then you do what you got to do. Take your chances. All right, let's see what other kind of stories we can find here. All right, one more here. Back in July 1999, Tuscaloosa County, Alabama. This one reads, a friend and I were fishing on Holt Lake in Tuscaloosa County one day after work. It was a Thursday, about mid-July of last year, 1999. We had gotten on the water about 6:30 and started fishing. We put in at Rocky Branch and went upriver towards the upper end lock. Towards nightfall, we started fishing back toward the launch. About 11:30, we were fishing a secluded part of the shoreline. The nearest house was probably 2 to 3 miles downriver. We were fishing close to the bank when I heard something walking at the top of the hill. I figured it was a deer and didn't pay it much more attention. As we proceeded down the bank, the sound started down the hill towards us. There were 2 distinct footsteps instead of 4 like a deer. I thought I was hearing things, so I looked back at my buddy, and he was looking up the hill towards the sound. We decided to go look for another fishing spot because we were getting a little spooked, and started putting everything up to make our run. As we were doing that, whatever it was broke into a run towards us. Before we could get the boat cranked, the creature let out the most horrendous snarl and growl I ever heard, and then hit the water after us. We both loved to hunt and spent a lot of time outdoors, but neither of us had ever heard anything like that, nor could we duplicate it when we would tell people of our encounter. I had not thought anything else about it until we got on this website and heard the recording of the growl sound. That was the closest thing I have heard to the sound we heard that night. I've read that usually there is a strong, musty smell preceding most encounters, but we didn't smell anything unusual. Perhaps this was due to the fact that we were in a crosswind with the creature. We don't know exactly what it was because we haven't gotten up the nerve to go back and look around. That was probably the last time I have been on the lake. Everyone we told about this said we were crazy and were hearing things, but none of them will go back with me at night to look for it. Due to the pale color of my face, when I got home about 45 minutes to an hour later, my girlfriend will not even go to the lake. It's about 30 minutes off Highway 59, exit 100 in Brookwood, Alabama. Wow. Yeah, I mean, something like that charging after you, running even into the water to come after you, and knowing that water slows you down. I mean, wow, that's really something. These things can be very intimidating. They make these charges and try to scare people off and scare them away. I have no doubt, had the creature actually intended to do some harm, that it would have succeeded. They're very powerful. People have witnessed them yanking trees clear out of the ground. I have trouble pulling weeds out of the ground, let alone a tree. So this is really interesting, just another facet of the many different types of encounters and all the different things that they can do. A lot of these stories, they don't repeat actions. They're all different types of personalities, different types of details that happen. So it's not like people just saying the exact same things over and over about encounters. That's how we know that these things are actually real and individual encounters, because of different aspects and details when people tell them. And people say, oh, you're just hearing things. Yeah, but they won't go back out and check it out with you, huh? That's really very, very telling right there. So we've got to stop this not listening and paying attention to people when they tell us something that happened. That has caused a lot of folks to not believe in the things, and then they go out and they're totally startled, totally caught off guard, and maybe even in more danger because of it. And especially where children are concerned. Mom, I was coming home from school, and that part down the road where the trees are, something was following me in there. Oh, go outside and play, leave me alone. Yeah, don't be doing that kind of crap, okay? Pay attention to people when they're trying to tell you something. All right, enough preaching. Do take time to share, like, subscribe. Check out the links in the description below. Go to the Facebook private group, Bigfoot Anonymous. Send in your encounters, bfrealencounters@mail.com. Be safe as you're out there fishing, hunting, backpacking, hiking, camping, picnicking, all those things that we do for the rest of our summer. And especially, listen for the tree branches cracking behind you. We'll see you in the next one. Once again, another great story. Thanks for tuning in. Please share your encounter. Email us, bfrealencounters@mail.com. Your story is very important. We will treat it with the respect that it deserves. Also, be sure to smash the like button, share, and subscribe. Thanks once again. We look forward to hearing from you soon. Watch out for our next video. Maybe we'll feature yours. Have a great day.